people are working, but they want that balance to just not have to be doing the washing, the cooking, the clean all weekend.
Yeah. There is a phenomenal amount of businesses that are still very much ingrained in that 1960s, women belong at home with a with a sponge.
And they're also the businesses that won't offer any flexibility.
Correct.
So they want you in the office 9 to 5 doing the female.
It's almost like a self-projection on everyone else.
Yeah. What's your thoughts, Ellie, as a Gen Z, about salary being the main driver for work?
Well, I was literally talking to the team about this the other day.
My anxiety goes.
We all look great.
Hey everyone, big thanks for supporting the podcast. We really do appreciate it. If you want to hear more from us, hit the subscribe button or press the bell icon for future updates.
I'm Alison Lambert. I'm a HR consultant, so I own the HR Guru Limited. That's me. 25 years in HR for my sins.
I'm Jeni Cornwall. I'm head of HR. I've been in HR for 15 years.
And obviously...
Hi, I'm Ellie.
And that's it.
From Superfly.
Yeah. In a few of the podcasts, we've touched on the differences in generations and the different ways people have been brought up, and the way that then influences the workplace essentially. And I think it has pretty dramatic impacts on the workplace. Mm-hmm. And I would argue the difference in culture between the young people of today and the probably people that are retiring has probably never been greater. Do you think?
We've never had 5 generations of the workplace at once, really, before.
Yes.
People used to retire earlier. Now they have to work longer because the pension age continues to rise. So I think there's a natural... I also think people that were once felt older and wanted to retire are now quite happy to continue working. They quite like the financial element of being able to work and bring an income for longer.
And do you think because people are generally overall healthier and feel that they can work for longer?
Definitely. I think my parents particularly, they at 66 still, very much don't look like what I would have imagined a 66
Yeah, my parents
to
are the
look
same as well.
and feel like. So I think, there's definitely not a need for them to feel like they want to stop working.
Yeah.
I also think they're not sure what they would actually do with their
Yeah.
time. Like,
It's
they kind of a little bit
be
go,
bored.
what would I do?
I don't think I'd be bored. No, but I also think as well, there's more options as well now, isn't there? So, people work flexibly, there's part-time roles, whereas I guess even like when I'm slightly older than all of you, but when I was growing up, there wasn't really as much flexibility in terms of like flexible working, part-time roles, the option to work a couple of days a week. So I think, you can kind of semi-retire, can't you now? But actually just
You used to
dabble
work
and do a
and
little
then
bit of
retire.
something.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I think I've even seen like the older generation, embracing maybe like working from home a bit or just doing a part-time job somewhere. So I think, there's so much we can kind of like discuss. But if I think back 25 years ago, when I first started, culture wasn't even really a thing.
No.
It wasn't even talked about.
Definitely not.
You just went to work, you did a job and you came home. Culture wasn't even really...
Well, there was no expectation of the employer to provide that for you, was there? It was very much... you work for us and you do the job, and in exchange for that job, we pay you a wage. But there was no compromise or expectations that you were there for, expected to provide the employees with something in return. Whereas I think now the younger generation, they want more. Their expectations are higher. Dare I say, the entitlement is a little bit more there. I've noticed, particularly since recruiting the younger generation, I think what they're looking for and what they expect is, way more than what our parents ever expected from a role when they took it 30, 40 years ago.
Yes, I see that. And you being probably in that generation.
Yeah, I think I do agree with that. I feel like this whole hustle culture, especially on social media, that obviously we've grown up with social media, we're taking it in all the time. Yeah. And this whole hustle culture, I fell into it. So I can't say for every Gen Z, obviously, but you see these people that are getting rich at 20, 21, and it's like, right, I want that. And yet we're following like this dream in like our own home city, and it's like, how do I get that? What's next for me? And I feel like a lot of my generation feel like they can make so much money online and stuff. They want the next best thing when they're just working at a car garage or they're working at, you know.
So I think that leads quite well on to talking about the different generations. And the most recent generation, is the most recent generation in the workplace anyway, Gen Z?
No. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
What's the generation underneath that? Do you know what that's called?
Is it Alpha?
Yeah, there's a new one coming through. It's not on here, is it?
And are they approaching
18.
the workplace soon, or?
It'll probably be in about 2-3 years because my brother is Gen Z. I mention my brother so much on this podcast. But he's Gen Z and
That's
he's
nice.
just a Gen Z. He's literally on the bracket.
And how
of
old is
being
he?
17, nearly 18.
Yeah,
And
so I've got a
2007.
14-year-old, so I think he will become the alpha.
Yeah.
Right.
If it is the Alpha.
And you're the top end of Gen Z, is that
Sort
correct?
of, yeah.
Solid. But you are Gen Z.
Hey, I'm
You
like
are Gen Z.
3 or 4 years off being the top end.
Right, okay. So, the characteristics of Gen Z are global, entrepreneurial, progressive, and less focused.
Okay. What do you think about that,
I'd
Ellie?
agree with all of that, I think. Yeah.
Would you? Yeah.
I think so. Obviously, again, not everyone, but I feel like, let me go back. Wait, where did you read that? Everybody in my family are very like, go to work, come home, tea's cooked, go to work, come home, you know, do the shopping, whatever. But we're very much like, I will explain my job as, I don't even feel like I'm going to work. I feel like I'm just, just going to go see my friends and
But is that
chilling
lazy
out.
or is that just different?
Different.
See,
Yeah.
But again, we're very entrepreneurial, which is like very contradicting.
Some
Some
are
are.
entrepreneurial.
Yeah, this is what
You are.
It's hard to explain about all of these without saying some.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
some aren't and some
Of course,
are.
and
Of
there's
course.
exceptions to every rule, but
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't describe what you just said as lazy.
Yeah.
I just think that your lifestyle expectations are different.
Different,
So
yeah.
what you want from work is a source of income that allows you to go and live your life.
Yeah.
Whereas I would say even probably slightly our generation and our parents definitely lived to work.
Yeah.
Whereas you work to live. So I think
Yeah.
it's more that it's kind of just been a switch in,
Like
your
culture.
job provides a salary for you to go and do whatever it is you want to do, or
Yeah.
to set up that side hustle, or to start a business on the side, or to make content to be able to create extra sources of income.
Yeah.
I wouldn't describe that as lazy. I think it's amazing, but I just don't think those options were available to us.
Definitely,
I
yeah.
remember getting the internet for the first time when I was like 12, and I was, and you had to go on MSN on a night after school, and
I did do that. I loved
your mum
MSN.
unplugged the house phone to go online. It was a different world. Whereas, I'm a parent to a teenager now, and he's got, the entire world at his fingertips, and he
Yeah.
can make content, in 20 minutes on his phone and put it on TikTok.
Yeah.
And
It's a whole new skill set.
it
innit?
is,
Yeah,
and those options
100%.
weren't available to
Yeah.
us. So, I kind of agree, to a point you want to work less and work smarter, but I wouldn't necessarily think it's lazy. I think it's just a
No.
different mindset.
Yeah, I think the lazy part, it's like TikTok, for example. You have one half of it where it is lazy. You're going home and you're sitting on it for hours and you're not doing
Mindless
anything.
scrolling.
But the other side of TikTok, you can be a Gen Z and you could be making thousands of
Yeah,
pounds
yeah.
on there, being a content creator, selling things for businesses and getting the profits off that.
Yeah.
So it's like there is two halves to our generation. It's just we set, it's this lazy culture,
Yeah.
but there's one half and there's another half.
The
It's
thing
quite-
is, though, as well, I don't think... So, like, I have a 13-year-old daughter who's, TikTok crazy. I think it's like every sort of entrepreneur, people only see the end product. So
Yeah.
she'll see people on TikTok that are making thousands of pounds and thinking, oh, they've just posted a couple of videos. Actually, she won't actually see...
Or understand.
understand what
Yeah.
actually goes into
Of
that.
course.
And so I don't think it's lazy at all. It's different. It's very
Yeah.
different. But I think that the people that are doing well on TikTok, the hours and the effort and
Yeah.
the collaboration and
The
all
stress.
of the stress and the trolling and all of the other side of it, that they don't share
Mm-hmm.
is the hard work. I guess that if you translate that to, like, I don't know, Jen or I, so I think people see I work from home now, and my daughter will say, I want to work from home like you do, but she doesn't
Yeah.
see the 25 years where I travelled,
Yeah.
I
Yes.
was away from the
Grafted,
kids when they were
yes.
Yeah,
small.
yeah,
I worked in
yeah.
lots of different industries to build that experience up. That's now got me to the point where I can work from home, but then
But I
that,
think you work harder than you've ever worked, probably, but in a different way.
yeah, it's
That's-
very different. And for me now, there's there's no difference between home and work. So I shut the laptop and then it's like, what's for tea?
Yeah.
What we're doing tonight?
put a wash
What
on.
we're doing? And there's
So I personally really struggle with that.
Do
Like,
you?
I just cannot.
Yeah.
I just cannot switch off properly.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I need
I'm
an
like
actual
that.
physical difference.
Yeah.
Like I need an office.
To go home from.
COVID was just an absolute nightmare because I'm just constantly thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like sometimes as well, I'd be working on my computer in our bedroom. Then I'd stop working, and then I'm like, right. So I'm in.
I'm in bed.
Yeah, I'm in bed. I'm going to bed. No, but for me that was like, no, like I'm still wired. I'm still like on like a work.
I do get that, and I've never worked from home. I've always had jobs that have been office based, and actually, I always say that I would like to work from home, but I think I would lack the discipline. I think for me, I get up and go to work to do a job, and then I do use the drive home as like that time to unwind.
100%,
And then I can get in the door and go, right, I'm on mum life, tea duty, whatever, but I have left work at work to a degree. Whereas I think if I was at home, there's always that constant, well, my laptop's there, so is the washing machine. You know, and you actually find that balance. But our parents never had that option either, because working from home didn't exist. So again, I think the world is so different.
It is. Oh my God!
It's
so many different details.
And COVID really changed that, I think,
Yes.
because it enabled people to realise that you can get a balance and you can do both. And I know there's definitely been a shift lately where businesses are trying to bring people back to the office, and there's a very mixed opinion on that. I mean, how would you feel if you had to sort of do full office or?
Well, we do here we do 4 days here, and then Friday at home, which for me is like great.
Okay.
I think having that 1 day at home, it's better because the weekend is then you've done all your chores sort of on your lunch and between working and stuff, and then the weekend is yours. Whereas the 5 days a week, you in the office, you don't have any time to do anything.
You don't. And I remember my parents spending all weekend washing, ironing, cooking, cleaning, because they were a Monday to Friday 9 to 5.
You might as well be working your whole life.
Yeah.
Like you don't have any time to do anything.
It is. But then I guess thinking about generations in the workplace, so I think of my dad, who is, well, he's really old. He's a traditionalist. But like, he still doesn't get that concept that I am working when I'm at home.
Yeah.
So he'll be ringing me, or he'll be like, I'm just going to pop and, I'm like, dude, I'm working.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, you can't just
I love the way
stick
that you
up
call
at
your
my-
traditionalist dad dude.
Dude, oh yeah. Along with many other things.
Yeah.
My son calls him bro, but is that not just like bro?
Wow. Yeah. My son calls me bro.
Yeah, I get a bit of that as well.
It's awful.
I get a bit of that, so I think there's that element as well. So if you're like, if you're the older generation managing like that younger generation, so I get a lot with clients, people requesting to work from home, and they're like, well, how do I know they're actually working? And
How do I spy on them?
There's some stories you could tell there, but I think it's just that understanding as an older generation that people are working, but they want that balance to just not have to be doing the washing, the cooking, the clean all weekend.
Yeah.
So yes, they might put a wash on while they're making a cuppa, but it doesn't mean they've not sat there and they've quite often when people work from home, they log on earlier because they've not got an hour's commute, or they've not, they've dropped the kids and they just log straight on, So I think there's absolutely that balance. And again, it's like Jen was saying earlier, it's about balance now, isn't it? It's not that this is what we're giving you as an employer. You need to kind of like, it needs to be like a two-way thing.
Yeah.
100%.
Just playing devil's advocate there, it does allow an easy exploit if someone is going to exploit.
Yes,
you know
I
what
can
I mean?
fully appreciate that.
But then I do think if you've got the right measures in place, and I don't mean as in like monitoring people, I mean as in like, how do you measure success? Is that based on the number of hours that you sat at a desk, or is it based on the output?
Yes.
And I think if you're basing it on the number of hours that, we always laugh, don't we? And like my other half laughs because it's like, some days you just, I look like I'm all over the place, but it's like the output of work that you can do in like 2 hours is insane, probably more than what she's laughing because she knows
because
what I'm
I
like.
so know it like this. Very much thrive under pressure kind of girl.
So if I had to sit at my desk 9 to 5 every day, my output would be dreadful because that just does not motivate me. I need to be able to go for a walk, or I need to be able to like sit and have some lunch. Not that I always do because I'm quite busy, but if someone said to me, you are sat at your desk 9 till 5, my output would be dreadful. Whereas actually having that balance, which obviously I have created myself now, but I think allowing employees to design their day and measuring the output rather than the 9 to 5 or whatever the hours are.
And that's what it should be, really, shouldn't it?
100%.
Like, as a business owner, you want the most output. You don't want the most hours.
Yeah, someone could be sat at the desk for 9 hours doing nothing.
Doing fuck all,
Literally.
Oh, we're allowed to swear. Great.
Oh,
Marvellous.
You've
Even
set off
Alicia
now.
No, I won't. I'll be professional. But yeah.
But we've experienced that. Like,
And how did you find that balance as a business owner? How did you figure out what good looks like? Did you ask the team? Did you do it sort of trial and error a little bit? How did you find a way that works for everybody where you can actually ensure that they're doing exactly what you need them to do, but in the way that
they want?
Yeah.
It's a really good question. So after COVID, the team at the time collectively approached me and Charlie and were like, we want something, like we want some kind of working from home hybrid situation.
Okay.
And me and Charlie were like, fucking
how on earth do we do this?
How are we going to monitor that?
Yeah. Well, it is that as well. It's just how on earth how do we manage this?
It's
Like,
almost like letting your kids go out into the big wide world. It's like,
and going, please come back.
yeah, getting them on Find My Phone. That's what I do with Freya. I'm like, where are you?
yeah. With all of the teams, like, where are you? Starbucks, no.
Get back to your desk.
But then they just put it to us and they're like, look, this is what we want. What do you think? And then me and Charlie discussed it. And then we thought, in our particular business anyway, if we all work from home on a Friday, that is a nice day to have working from home.
Yeah.
It feels like a weekend on a Thursday.
Okay.
And it's been nice. I've enjoyed it.
Okay.
Because I've been able to spend more time with my kids. And
Do the school run
walk Ellis to school and pick him up from school and stuff like that.
Okay. And have you found any times when it hasn't worked?
I have found the people.
I was like, maybe.
Well, yeah.
It's like, ooh, just a gossip.
Well, the main thing is that it is for people to be present if we need, like, say there's not many emergencies in marketing, but if a client has been like, look, can we try and get this sorted, then it's having that communication channel open so that you're there
to go, guys, all
like,
hands on deck, let's go.
can you help with this? And we have had a few situations where people have just gone dark for like 3 hours and it's like,
ew.
So
That's when you bring out Find My Phone, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's when the tracker comes in. Where are you?
They're usually like legit reasons.
But it's that trust thing, isn't it? Because you're paying them to be at work and trusting that even if you can't see them, you're trusting that they're working.
Yeah.
If they're suddenly dark or offline or whatever, it's like, can I trust this person? You know, are they giving me a reason to question whether this is the right thing?
It is a bit like
and
that.
you can't, there's that thing of you can't punish everybody because one person breaches the trust. So suddenly because one person does that, you can't go, right, everybody back in the office on Friday, because you can't judge it based on one individual.
Well,
you know?
you say you can't, but that was kind of our approach at one point. It was like, look, everyone needs to be we need to be able to communicate with people, basically, because it was causing my brother quite a few issues because he deals with some higher kind of level clients and they need a quicker response time. So that was our approach. Whether that worked or not, I don't know. But my experience is the people that who were good at work are good at home.
Exactly that.
So it doesn't matter.
If you're
like
committed
over
to your
time,
job,
it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I think, if people are going to take the piss, they'll take the piss whether they're in an office. Anyone can be in an office and look busy.
Exactly.
Or whether they're at home. So I think, there's also that element of, do you need to operate a 9 to 5 on the Friday? Or, because for me personally, I don't like to sit at my desk 9 till 5, so I might log on a bit later, and then work a bit later on the evening, or just, I was doing some
Or have
stuff.
less for your lunch or whatever, it doesn't matter, does it?
And I think, so like last night I was doing some stuff at midnight because I just couldn't sleep and I wanted to do some stuff. But I mean, I guess it's slightly different because I have my own business. However, I do think unless it's like a client critical, they need to be 9 to 5. I think as long as you deliver what you've promised and deliver to the client what you've promised, does it matter does it matter if someone disappears for 3 hours? I mean, yes, if you need them and they were meant to be, contactable, fine. But yeah, I'm a big fan of that, which I think, you know, maybe for my gen is a bit different, but I don't know if that's because I've worked in global tech and that's kind of how everyone works.
How everybody works.
And that for me, I was like, I like that. And I, you know, but I do appreciate that a lot of people of my generation have struggled with that. And I am working with quite a few businesses to do back to office as well.
Yeah,
so.
I thought that might be the case.
Yeah.
And thinking about recruitment as obviously two business owners and people that work for business, when you're looking for a role, you know, you see more and more people requesting hybrid working, flexible working from the off. Whereas I think if you think of our parents, they would have not requested anything other than a job and gone,
that's for the hours.
Please, thank you, I'll take that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And that would have been it. But, you know, I think I obviously interview a lot of candidates now, and I would say that 90% want some kind of flexibility, even if it is can I drop off at school and start later, or can I leave early on a Wednesday because I don't have childcare on a Wednesday, or I've got a hobby on a Thursday night that I don't particularly want to give up, but it means I need to do this. And, you know, I've felt that probably more than ever since COVID, as in people have learned to ask, and they've got the pick of the roles, especially if they're good at what they do. They want to go, I want to work for a business that gives me the best of both worlds. And I think there's a lot of businesses now, unfortunately, that are behind the times in terms of what they're willing to offer their people and in terms of environment. So office space, like you guys have just moved here, it's amazing. You know, you've spent a lot of time making sure that it's a great environment for your people.
And money, like
and
we've invested money into it.
But it will pay off because your team will feel grateful, but they'll also know that they've got a space to go and have a break.
Want to come to.
Yeah,
hopefully.
they want
hopefully,
to.
Ellie.
Well, hopefully, Ellie.
I've got my slippers on now.
But what a nice feeling to be able to know that you can do that. Whereas, you know, you go into a lot of businesses. I've worked in quite a few organisations where you walk in.
Boardroom,
it's like a time warp. You walk in, there is a boardroom that is, you know, dark brown. You know,
we live in Hull as well.
Well, there is that. But you know, but businesses either haven't got the money or aren't willing to spend the money. And as you get these younger people joining the world of work, they walk in and go, "What the hell is this?" You know? And they'll ring, you know, and they walk in, they go,
"It's like going to my granddad's."
Why is it so dark in here? Why is it so brown? Why is everything all? And they kind of they don't want to work.
Why would I want to work?
I want to sit in here.
Why would anyone want to work in
40 hours a week in this dark little dingy room? No, thank you. And I think if you're going against competitors and you're pitching for, I want to attract and retain the best talent in the industry, but you're expecting them to work in a broom cupboard that smells fusty and, you know, has got dripping ceiling, that's not going to work. You know, you've got to be able to put in a certain amount of investment to be able to get people to go, actually, I really want to work here. It looks brilliant. You know, and not enough businesses, especially in our area, I don't think have done that.
100%. And people will just go down the road to
somewhere
here,
else
or you know, somewhere that will provide a nice environment. And it's not just the environment, is it? It's like people now expect to come into a business and they expect to be developed, they expect to grow.
And the
it's not, you know, so like we were saying earlier, culture wasn't even a thing. They want a nice culture, they want some learning development, they want some growth, they want to progress. You know, so if you can offer all of that in a nice environment, compared to like Joe Blogs down the road where, you know, we don't invest in training because we can't afford it, or it's a waste of time, or we're too busy, because often that's the first thing that'll go, isn't it? Like the you know, the learning development budget or the growth, you know, we're too small to develop people or move people internally.
They also sometimes just don't care if they
don't care enough to actually develop.
I've seen that so many times where businesses have just said, that's not our responsibility. And it really is their responsibility. And I think they don't, and then people leave and they say, oh,
we'll just offer them some more money. and
just give them a bit of money. It's like, that's not what they want. What's your thoughts, Ellie, as a are you a millennial?
Gen Z.
As a Gen Z, about salary being the main driver for work?
Well, I was literally talking to the team about this the other day. That
my anxiety goes.
We all look
I'm leaving.
Mayday.
People like that afterwards.
Sorry, I've taken over the interview.
No, but I just think they both like, it's salary, great. You can then go out and, like, pay your mortgage and pay this, that, and the other. But then also, I want to have, like, a nice place to work, because why would I want to be on, like, say, 50 grand, which is great, and then go to work and be sad and depressed,
And
ringing my
hate
family all the time? Like, yeah, why would I want that?
Yeah.
So it's a nice, healthy balance, and
What are your thoughts on, like, progression, so, and career development and learning development and that? I mean, that's something I'm massively passionate about. What are your thoughts in terms of that? So I guess even like 25 years ago when I went to work, you maybe went on a health and safety training course. Do you know what I mean? Because you had to do it. Whereas now people expect, like, you know, some companies will offer degrees, they'll offer, you know, there's so much
apprenticeship
out there. What are your thoughts? Is that important to you?
It is very important to me. I don't know if you guys follow me on LinkedIn or anything, but I always say on LinkedIn, I started as a Starbucks barista, went to a GP receptionist, and I was like, I want to get into marketing. So the first thing I did was try and do free courses and YouTube videos, things like that, and then I got my apprenticeship. So my apprenticeship was, like, really important to me. So I made sure I completed that, but also did things on the side. So obviously then I came to Superfly, now I'm a social media manager, but for me it doesn't stop there. Like, I always want to progress, and like, I've got Lily now, who's an apprentice, so I'm constantly learning myself and learning, I always do that every podcast. It's the nails. But yeah, I've got Lily to learn from as well, so she's teaching me management now. So it's like, how do I manage a workload with two of us and things like that? I'm always finding, like, the next thing.
You've accelerated pretty fast, haven't you?
Yeah, pretty fast. It's because I want to, like, progress. I don't know if that is a Gen Z thing, but it's definitely a me thing.
No, 100%. And I've seen a massive change over the years. So in terms of people coming into businesses and wanting that progression and wanting the title as well. So it's kind of like, and sometimes too fast, you know, I've had to sort of say, look, you need to get a few years of like lived experience of doing that. But I do think, you know, that is it Gen Z, isn't it? Yeah. I'm just checking, making sure I got the right one. Very kind of ambitious, want that growth path, want the title to go with it, which is absolutely fine, and that's how it is. I guess from the flip side of that, as a business, having to manage that, because you can't have like 10 people all wanting to be the CEO or whatever, can you? So I think it's, you know, it's definitely really important.
I think people are just different. I mean, you've got a unique drive, I think.
Yeah, definitely not lazy.
You know?
Well, no, you are 100% not lazy. No.
I know. Well, I was doing 9 to 5 with the rest of the guys, and I said to Charlie and Nick in my recent interview, what's it called? Review. Yeah. I said, I was like, I work so much harder in the morning. I like to get up and get on with working. So I said, would I be able to change my hours to earlier? Because by the time it gets 5 o'clock, it's just like, I switch off. But then I could go home and, you know, want to work at 11 p.m. and continue. But that's just how my brain works. So I just feel like it was
But I think if people were more honest, Ellie, I think lots of people's brains work like that. They're just almost a little bit conditioned to the 9 to 5.
100%.
Because I've always worked either 8 to 5, half 8 till 5, you know, so my brain isn't productive all of that time. It's just you are a little bit conditioned to going, these are the working hours that you should be at work, therefore if you're at work you should be working, but no one's brain does that.
No,
I'm very much a come in and crack on in the morning, but I will be honest, by 4 o'clock I'm sort of, because I'm starting to almost think about, well, I've got to do tea and I've got to sort homework out.
You're tired.
You're tired.
It's tired.
It's a lot. And
even if you don't have kids,
say this sometimes, like, you just don't give yourself enough credit for like how much you're supposed to fit into a day, and especially when you've then got to go home and be mum and do other stuff. And, you know, I think sometimes there's a little bit of a stigma around just being honest about the fact that actually it's a lot. And if people were more honest and just said, this is a lot, everyone would take the pressure off themselves a little bit. But because nobody's talking about it enough, people go, well, I can't
sort of sit there and stew,
I can't say that I'm tired because people will think I'm lazy. And it is that. It's like, you're not lazy. It's just a lot.
Yeah.
that could
tiring.
be to do with part of your generation's
100%.
expectation.
Yeah.
So before we move on, I just wanted to... So I think that one of the biggest stigmas or talking point with Gen Z, and I think this might have always been a thing, younger people generally, older people are like, oh, lazy.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the two main things are entitlement and unrealistic expectations, probably.
Yes.
Of younger people. What do you think that is correct? Do you think there is truth in it? Do you think there is an element of... Because there's a lot of people talking about and Gen Z being entitled?
Yeah.
And this is a question to you as well, Ellie.
Do you know what's
Do you think there is something in it? Or do you think it...
Possibly.
Yeah.
But what's your thoughts?
I don't know. I think as a Gen Z, because we've got everything in our face on the like TikTok and Instagram and things like that, we don't see the hard work that goes behind anything. And I think for me, when I got into my marketing apprenticeship, I thought I knew everything because I had a YouTube channel and a TikTok. I thought I knew everything. And then my manager at the time was like, well, there's funnels behind things and there's this and there's that. And I was like,
a bit of a reality check.
Yeah. So I was like, damn, I've got myself into something here. But I ended up enjoying it, as you can tell. But I think, we do have unrealistic expectations and stuff sometimes, and we don't realise like what goes into something.
Yeah.
I think there's a phrase that I keep close, which is like comparison is the thief of joy. And I think because online, everything looks so attainable.
Yeah.
It's so easy to fall into that kind of comparison and go, well...
Comparison culture is so toxic.
It really is.
It's
And also is the keeping up with the Joneses mentality, because I think... I always remember being 18 and thinking, so people that are 30 have got a nice house, 2 kids, a dog, they're married.
30's old.
Back then, when you're 18, people that were 30 to me
So old.
looked... all right. Can't be
Rude.
Entitled.
So entitled. You're all...
But I think when you were 18, those people did look old or older, and they looked together, and you saw people, living in a 3-bedroom semi with 2 kids and a dog, and it gave this perception of that's what life should be. And actually for me, by 30, I was divorced, single mum with a kid. Yes, I owned a house, but but life was very far from the Waltons, and I think this keeping up with the Joneses mentality puts this unseen pressure on you to have achieved, X amount of money in the bank, or to live in a house of a certain size, or drive a certain car, or, look a certain way. And it's just damaging,
It's
And
exhausting.
I think as a parent of a teen now, I worry so much about that, because
now it's not keeping up with the Joneses, it's keeping up with the
world.
entire world.
everybody.
Yeah, and I was just about to say that. So
Everybody's got more
social
than
media,
you. It's so toxic. And I think, our parents don't worry about that because they're not on social media.
It's an easier life to some degree.
My mum's like, well, I don't look at Facebook, so I'm not looking at what anybody else is doing. Therefore, I don't feel the need to compare myself to them, because I just can't see it. So it's like that ignorance is bliss mentality.
Yeah.
And our parents have that because they go, well, I just don't look. Whereas our kids are going, well, it's everywhere. It's all where, and actually it's all I think about.
Yeah.
So trying to work with all those people in the workplace must be very hard, because I think, for example, you've got guys in the workplace that are 60, they're probably on the 5-year kind of wind down to retirement, looking at these 18, 19-year-olds coming in, driving a Mercedes that they probably can't afford because it's probably on finance, because all the people on TikTok are driving a Mercedes. And, but they're also living at home because they can't get on the mortgage ladder because
they've got a Mercedes.
But they've also,
The irony,
our parents could get a mortgage on 100%, and also they were married by 23, 24, because that was what the world was then. So they settled down earlier. They bought a house, they didn't have social media, so they weren't particularly looking at what other people were doing and panicking that they didn't have it. So actually life was probably just a little bit simpler then, because there was less comparison. There was less need to think about, have I got what next door have got, and does that matter? Whereas now, there's 25-year-olds going, well, I can't drive an ex-reg Ford Corsa because my friend's driving a Range Rover. And it's like, but they can't afford that Range Rover. They're doing it because TikTok tells them that they should. And, the amount of debt I imagine that young people are in. Whereas the older generation are probably coming to work and they're comfortable with the paycheck and they're not chasing that next book, but they're also probably nearly mortgage free, and they have a couple of nice holidays a year, but they're not going to Ocean Beach in Ibiza just to get Instagram content. because they don't care about that. So I think the expectations of life in general are massively different for the guys that are at the end of their working career. You know,
100%.
if I said to my dad, you know, I'm going to go here to get some Instagram content, he'd go, well, more fool you silly bugger. You know, like, because he'd be like, what stupid.
My dad would be like, what's Instagram?
They don't care. Whereas,
Honestly,
you know,
Yeah.
I've been on holiday recently, and the amount of girls round the pool, literally with their either their Insta boyfriend or their other friends getting content, was almost the norm now. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. But then they're probably working, you know, jobs and in the lower end of the spectrum, living at home, you know, potentially in debt. But it's all about how it looks, and you know, and I just think that's the difference. I also think that people in old generations don't really care if the office is a bit fusty and dark, because they just go, well, it works.
Yeah, it works.
There's nothing wrong with this desk, you know, it does its
fine.
job. Whereas, you know, someone that was 20 walked in and go, I'm not working in here. It's horrible.
Yeah.
So it is difficult, and I think, you know, whilst you're trying to manage all of those eras, you know, in the workplace, as a manager particularly, it's very hard to find a middle ground, because one size does not fit all.
Well, I suppose you've got to be
and
more.
it's every touch point of the employee life cycle, as we call it, isn't it? So it's not, you know, it's how do you hire people? Do you know, to begin with, before, you know, it's all that sort of outreach stuff before you've even got someone in the door. How do you hire people?
Other
once
people
you've got
don't want to interview on Teams because they
Yeah,
don't like. I
or
just
like,
like to come and see you, you know. And it's all of the differences. It's a lot, isn't it?
It is. It's a lot to consider as an employer. You know, that full life cycle, isn't it? And people don't stay, like, in, you know, job for life is not really a thing anymore. And you know, I work with some businesses that are quite antiquated, you know, they're quite old school still, and they're like, we can't hire people, they don't want to stay forever. And I'm like, people don't. You know, actually, if someone comes and works for you for 3 years, does a really good job, leaves on a positive note, and they're singing your praises, they're going to recommend you to the mates, like,
don't worry about
what's the problem? Like, you know, you've had a really good 3 years out of that person, they've probably left because you've progressed them to a stage where they've kind of outgrown you, and they want to go and do some different things. And for me, that is a success measure as a 100%. HR person, as opposed to someone that's been sat in a dusty old office for 25 years, probably slightly miserable and
doing not a lot.
But I think it's bringing up like I have a 13-year-old daughter, and it's scary. It just the stuff she says. She'll, you know, I said to her the other day, she was sat in the office next to me, and on the spare, you know, on the MacBook, like I had to blooming dial up, like you were saying earlier when I was young, sat on the spare Mac, like, you know, doing a Christmas list, my lord. But anyway, and I sort of said to her, what do you want to do? And I can't remember if I said this one was recording earlier or not. And she was like, I just want to work at home like you do. And I was like, absolutely not.
But what does she think that involves? You know
absolutely
what I mean?
not. Well, you're not working next to me because we drive each other insane. But it's that, like I said earlier, it's that full... It's taken me 25 years to get to this point, and I can work across a lot of different clients because I've worked all over the world. I've sacrificed, like when the kids were little, hours and hours on the road, not seeing them or dropping them off at preschool at 6:30 to get to the office for 7, to then not get home till 7 o'clock at night. And it's all that stuff she won't remember, because for the last 7 years I've worked from home. So her core memories of me being at work are just sat in the office in me loungewear. Do you know, I have like work loungewear and everything. I know, when I have to get dressed, I'm like, damn it. You know, but I'm like, absolutely not. You need to go out and you need to get that experience. And then again, she just sees the TikTok stuff of people posting a few videos. And
I made 12 grand this month just posting content.
Yeah, no, you didn't. You know, it's
the
like...
problem is that so many people lie.
I was going to say, when Jen was chatting earlier,
so many
is this your beef,
people
is it?
lie.
Don't believe everything you see online.
Because then, especially on LinkedIn as well.
It's the LinkedIn hook, isn't it? I made £6 million last week.
No, you didn't. You go on company's house. You look at their company. £7,000 income over a whole year. It's like, you're lying. You're absolutely lying.
What is it with the 10k months? That seems to be a thing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like the 10k month. I'm like, what's that all? Is that a measure of success because you made 10k this month?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't.